This is a podcast by the Straits Times. Welcome to Join the Watch, a Game of Thrones podcast by the Straits Times. I'm your host, Jonathan Roberts, and as ever, we are going spoiler heavy, especially now because it's the final episode. Our watch is ending. This is the review of the last episode, and later on we'll be having a video roundup of the entire season, if not the series. So this week's emissaries from the various kingdoms of ST are Hairianto Diman, Melissa Heng, Sakthivel, and Jen Lee. Hello.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
And of course, for one penultimate time, they may not come from Westeros, they may not come from Essos, but they may have passed by Eunos. Hooray!
Stuck this joke to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, all the way
That's
to the
best part that it's
death.
going to end.
It's episode 6. This is it. No more.
Mm-hmm.
First impressions, Jan.
Eh.
Oh, Sakti.
I can live with it.
Melissa?
I liked it.
Hairianto.
Don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what to feel, really.
I'm amazed because for me, I think it was brilliant. I think there could not be a better ending. Such a
Yes.
left turn. So outfoxing every fan theory. Nobody would have seen that, surely.
I
Maybe
disagree.
bits, maybe little bits, but nobody would have seen the way that was ending. Let's go for briefly the good. Melissa, why do you think it was good?
I agree with you that there were bits that none of us were expecting, but I think that the big parts of it, so Jon finally doing the ultimate right thing and killing Dany, everybody coming together then to choose a king who would rule as best as he could, as much as we didn't think Bran would be king, but I think the surprise was a good thing.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
I
just
think
quickly recap. An oddly quiet episode, but essentially, Dany basically threatened every living creature in Westeros. Tyrion got arrested. Tyrion then talked Jon into killing Dany. And Jon killed Dany. At which point, it gets back into the Game of Thrones thing of just debate and talking and
Politics.
politicking and things like that. And they decide, various people decide that Bran will be king.
Yeah.
And from there, it kind of just works its way around, which sounds very low-key. For those who were not so impressed, Jan, why did you not like it?
I don't hate where the series has gone. I'm okay with the endings where everybody ended up. I'm just not okay with how they got there because it doesn't make a lot of sense. It was too rushed. Excuse me, where are the Dothraki people? Just things like that just don't make sense, and it was just oddly very unsatisfying. Even though I love the fact that Jon killed Dany, for example, I kind of hated the fact that he had to be talked into it. Just for once, is the last episode, Jon Snow. Just give us some intelligence and initiative in killing Dany.
It's a
and
bit
also
late to be asking
take off your
intelligence
top.
from Jon
Take
Snow.
off your top one last time. I would forgive you. I would.
Wait, top or the bottom?
Oh wow!
You're the one who professed the love for Jon Snow
I
as
feel
behind.
like I've seen his
so.
butt, so I kind of wanted to see his
Okay,
ass.
right. But why do you want him to be intelligent suddenly now?
Not,
We've
not intelligent.
throughout the entire thing of this
Okay,
podcast, we've been
not-
saying he's an idiot.
Not intelligent.
Yeah, he is an idiot.
Not intelligent. He is an idiot. We agree. But the one redeeming grace of Jon Snow is his strong moral compass. When he saw all those children dead in the streets, there should have been no question that he was going to kill Dany. There should have been no question in his heart. But he still had to be talked into it.
It
because
was a bit of
all
a
the
surprise
love
that
and
he,
blah, blah,
he
blah.
just said, well, she's still my queen.
And I love her. Oh my god. And I'm just like, no, shut up, Jon Snow. You saw those dead children burned to bits. You should have just been like, yeah, there's no question.
No, I think it totally fits with his moral code. He is in love with her. He wants to redeem her as much as he believes that a peaceful, merciful solution is always possible. That's his flaw. He believes that mercy is possible all the time and redemption is possible all the time. So that is his flaw, right? So that's what people get all irritated at him at, but that's who he is, and that's why at the same time you want him to always do the right thing, which at the end of the day he freaking did, guys.
He did. But can we not have that scene of him in the jail cell with his hair all wild and not moisturized? One scene, his hair is not moisturized, all wild, and being like questioning his decisions. Don't question it, honey.
Actually,
okay,
I
you
have,
went through
I have
that
to agree
struggle.
with,
Don't
with
question
Jen
it.
because the thing is, I've hated Jon right from the beginning because of
Oh,
his
yeah,
strong
you
moral
have.
compass. Right? Like, I don't think there is any human being in this world who is like that.
Because you are bad.
So I agree with you, Jen. The fact that what? The fact that he saw these burned children on the streets, I thought that would go like, hey, you know what, Danny, you need to be stopped.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did.
He did,
No,
but it's
he's
just
still-
like he.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to
Jump in a
struggle.
second.
It's okay if you struggle with that
Yeah.
decision, but don't question it. And I hated the fact that he questioned it.
No, that's what the decision making is like, right? Nobody's gonna be like cocksure all the time. Nobody's gonna be like, yes, I've made the correct decision. Everybody's gonna have doubt. If you don't have doubt, then you are like some weird robot.
Correct.
Okay,
And-
hang on. So, what was the problem for you with this episode?
For me, the problem was similar to what Jan said, that there's a lot of weird bits where things didn't seem to connect.
We got a lot of moments cut off. We had a lot of
Maybe
moments taken out.
that's what it was, in the sense that they didn't show us a lot of things that would have helped, or maybe the viewer is supposed to connect the dots.
In what cases then?
Okay, so the two big twists that we saw, I liked the twists, but maybe they could have signaled it a bit more. Maybe it wouldn't have worked if they signaled it a bit more. And okay, let's go to the Bran thing. So Tyrion comes up and makes this suggestion, and everyone's like, yeah, sure, let's go do that. And then the reason he gives for putting Bran up for this position was that, he is the history of the human world. Look, who knows? Then he also mentions Three-Eyed Raven. These guys know where. These guys were like all over the place. I'm sure no one's heard of the Three-Eyed Raven in Dawn. Maybe they have. We don't know. They didn't show us. But everyone's like, oh, he
Prince
like
of
that.
Dawn.
Yeah, he like that. He can see. He knows everything. Okay, then he can be our king. I feel like it's a bit of a jump, isn't it?
But- Well, you are talking about someone who Tyrion is well known to all of them, and is well known as being the smartest guy in the room, and he's either helped them, or evaded them, or talked himself out of trouble with them. So when they ask him to, so what's your version of this? Why not? He's the connecting factor with all these guys.
But what you're explaining right now, what you're saying is that this guy says so I'm going to just take his word for it. No one has really done any due diligence or research or anything like that. They just decided.
Well,
on one
there's enough of them
alternate-
there to trust what is going on.
Okay.
And like when Sansa shuts down Edmund Tully. Was it Edmund Tully?
Edmure, yeah, Edmure Tully.
Edmure Tully.
Yeah.
A great comeback. Just to,
Uncle, sit down.
yeah.
That was awesome.
Can we just recap a little bit? Edmure Tully is the guy who went to the Red Wedding with Robb Stark and Catelyn and Talisa, and then he married one of the Frey girls, fathered one of the children, and then was captured, blah, 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 and then later on there was a whole
Somehow
Blackfish
still
saga,
alive.
so that's Edmure Tully, guys.
He gave up the castle, did
He gave up the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave up Riverrun or something.
Yeah.
Along those lines.
So he's a bit of a coward, and then he tries to put himself forward as a potential new king,
Some
and then just
skill in
shut
statescraft.
down. Shut down completely. But what else apart from Tyrion?
I think that was the main one. I like the twist that, in the end, Bran was. I guess it's all kind of nitpicky stuff. I really dislike the fact that, when they turned to Bran, even when the camera panned just before Tyrion said Bran, I thought it was going to be Sansa. Because
Oh, we all did.
yeah,
we all
that's
did,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it panned to him, and then he just gives us this wooden.
His
dead
creepy
face.
look, is it?
Yeah, and then he says, "Why do you think I'm here?" Oh my God! They should have just pushed you off a ledge.
No.
I lost it. Like that
What?
that
Okay,
dialogue.
So, when you say things like this, I have to wonder what show you've been watching. Because is there not something wonderfully sinister about Bran, the guy that can see the past and the future, and he gets
Not
to be
necessarily
named
the future.
king? He has this amazing vision, this supernatural vision, and somehow he's positioned himself in a way that he knows he's going to be king.
I'm sorry, these people don't know Bran. What what does Yara exactly know about Bran? Has Yara been a part of Bran's journey at all? Why does she
No.
suddenly think, hey, yeah, Bran's a good guy to lead all of us,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
a person that I'm gonna swear my loyalty to? Doesn't make sense.
This comes back to the reason why they all listen to him is Tyrion is still the smartest guy in the room, and they respect his decision on that.
The thing is that when you see what is happening as well, right? No one else has a better solution here.
Yeah.
And while I think it is odd that they are allowing some of these really lousy lords to make a decision, I mean, why is that Robin Arryn, why does he even get a vote? He's a, like,
Well,
not
you've got to
no
see
kid.
where these guys are coming from, because also when Sam, where he suggests, why don't we let the people decide? And for a moment you're thinking, oh,
Democracy.
don't tell me they're
Democracy.
going to have a presidency. But you look at the way they all just sneered at this decision, including Sansa. These are all privileged people who are just, they have
They're
their
not
lineage
ready.
and they're going to stick with it. You know, it's like, well, I don't particularly want them. I don't particularly want these guys on the other side. Yeah, why not Bran?
Yeah.
It's a default position of just like, yeah, okay.
And
It
you're-
seems least offensive. And as we know in the real world, least offensive cannot come through.
I mean, after all the drama, I would imagine that they would just, think a bit more of who they want to lead, the next person to lead, to be honest.
And
Right?
it does seem odd that Sansa got the choice to leave the Seven Kingdoms and nobody else was like. I mean, Yara was quite strongly for leading the Iron Islands on her own, so it doesn't make any sense that everybody is just like, oh, Sansa left, oh, then we stay, lor.
Oh,
like,
but
it
the
doesn't
North,
make sense.
but the
Yeah.
North has
And
been
then-
independent for quite a while
Yeah,
already,
so
right?
that's what Sansa said as well. She said the North will continue to be independent as it has been for
Thousands
years.
of years, yeah.
And the thing is that I don't see a problem with them all coming under this one king because it's kind of a title, yes, there will be some allegiances, yes, but ultimately it is for peace, some kind of peace, right? Because look at the guy who's going back to Dawn. Dawn is so far away. They can do anything they want there. They just have to say, yes, we agree. And then he goes back on his ship and rules his land by himself. Same for Yara. The Iron Islands are almost off by itself.
There's also an element of all these people just want to go back to the status quo of how things were without a bit of the trouble, but essentially, yeah, let's just have one king, essentially ruling, the hand to do most of the work. And
But of course, we know
as
the
you see in the
physical Iron Throne,
meeting of the small council, thank you, they all get back to this just that, well,
Ships,
brothels, and I'd like to build some more brothels. Well, I don't like you building brothels. I'm going to get back to that. So they all just get back to regular life.
They didn't fully break the wheel. They did,
Yeah.
but they still kept some semblance.
They kind of realigned the wheel a little bit.
Yeah.
They-
They got rid of all the
Reordered.
crazy people.
And of course, the physical Iron Throne, right?
Now become
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
which was
yeah.
a great scene, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's get on to our great scenes. Best moments, worst moments. Hairianto?
I thought the best moment for me was that little touching scene when Brienne wrote an entry for Jaime.
Yeah, yeah.
And for all the flaws that Jaime has, she actually wrote the good stuff, and then she ended off with him just dying.
He died for his
He
queen.
died for his queen, yeah. And I think that would have taken a lot from her to write that last line down.
And
saying-
not just add on to the end, and he was hung like a pygmy.
Yeah. Exactly, right? I mean, for the fact that, she was left high and dry, she still mustered all that courage to actually write that down.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's your absolute worst then?
I know I like Danny dying, I thought that was that, but again, I felt that, that was just a little too quick again, because the first part, the pacing was really slow. People were just walking, Tyrion was just walking and walking. And that was what happened in episode 5, right?
And then putting out bricks.
Yeah, and
carrying
putting out,
bricks.
like walking.
Guys are
I'm like walking.
Nonsense.
Okay. All that walking and all that slow pacing could have translated into, other bits to explain. I don't know. to make-
Exposition.
Yeah, make it a better. I don't know lah. And then after that, it's like building up to something, and then the next thing like bam, Dany like instantly dies, right? Like, you know,
He
the
couldn't have stabbed her a few more times,
yes,
right?
like, you know, like the
No,
battle bit.
oh,
Okay, no,
you
you
guys.
Wow.
you
I bet he
put
done that a
it
bunch
to a
of
parallel
times in
to
the episode,
Jaime and Euron when they were fighting at the beach,
but
like,
it's-
Yeah.
you know, they were like, he was stabbed multiple
Thank
times,
you.
but
Why-
Jaime could still like drag himself and not
Wait,
die
wait,
out of being
those are
bleeding out.
stabs of hate. This was a stab of love.
No,
Whatever,
I'm sorry. It's
whatever,
not.
it is
Stab through the
not
heart.
medically.
I spent 5 minutes watching Euron.
Yeah.
Euron of all people die. You couldn't give me a slightly longer Dany dying scene.
Yeah, right.
Stab her a few
And-
times. Stab her once. Then just
No.
like
And
again.
if let's say
No.
if let's say you really want to go with the romantic thing, I would have expected Dany to kind of like, you know, look longingly into his eyes and like
A bit
say
of-
something
bit of,
like
"Why?"
Yeah, say something like, you know, why, or like just, I don't know, a tear roll down her eyes,
Was
or
I
that
that
kind
bad?
of chemistry. You know, if they're gonna go with the whole slow pacing thing.
or just be like, you betrayed me, and
Yeah.
she dies.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Nah, any
Yeah.
words would have been.
So she's just like,
anticlimactic.
and then the
Is this
other thing that
about
doesn't
burning
make
those
sense,
people?
because she was stabbed in her stomach or wherever it is, and she started bleeding from her nose and her
Yeah, it
mouth.
doesn't.
Well, that's a classic
Guys.
where you bleed from when
Like,
you're
I
stabbed.
I wanted a death scene that was like Talisa. Like just multiple stabs in her stomach. Like I
But
needed
he
her
doesn't
to.
hate her.
Or like
I needed her to
I
make
don't
sure
know,
she
or like a
died.
killing of passion, right?
Okay,
A killing
whoa,
of
hang
passion.
on. Okay, let's quell the bloodthirst here.
Yeah,
Just
Okay,
for a
guys.
so
moment.
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sword
Melissa.
went up through here, goes through the lungs and the heart. That's why she started coughing up blood.
She didn't cough as
There
well.
you
She
go.
just
Anatomy.
she just withered. She just
Uh.
Yeah,
withered.
because it was just one step to the stomach. Okay,
Yeah.
how many steps has Arya taken and was
Yeah.
like jumping back
Yeah.
up? Like,
Well,
it doesn't
Starks are
make
different
sense.
people. Targaryens are kind of very weak in that way. But I have to confess, I was waiting for her to come back. I thought there was going to be a thing of Drogon coming back with her on the back saying, okay, now you're fucked. Like a final like horror movie. Anyway, Melissa, your best and worst.
So okay, I really like that Jon stabbed Dany. I think the conflict in his face as he did it, he knew he had to, but he made sure, and he asked her all these questions, and when she confirmed that she was nuts, he was like, okay, I gotta do it, and he did it. But for me, what was even better was Drogon's reaction. Right, when the dragon comes in and you're like, whoa, what's he gonna do? And you see him actually have this interaction with Dany. He's so upset, right? Then you think, is he gonna burn Jon? But he doesn't. He takes out all his rage on the Iron Throne, and we know that dragons are sentient in some way, right? They have intelligence. They're not just animals. And for me, I felt that's so symbolic because, like, he has been following his quote-unquote mother all this time. He's been following Daenerys because
And he knew when she died.
yeah, and he knew that she was dead, right? So I think that in some way he kind of knew that what killed her more than Jon was this, her desire and thirst for the Iron Throne, and that led to her death. I think he kind of knew, so he just took it out on the Iron Throne and he destroyed this thing that she was chasing and that killed her.
I've not seen the making of video yet. That usually comes on YouTube after the program. But if the writers say something similar, I think, you know, we buy you a coffee or something like that. It's scarily accurate. I think there's a lot of Drogon going on that kind of fits in with. I mean, the whole Jon and Daenerys thing fit in with these confounding of fan theories. So, I mean, last week I was saying that it would be Arya wearing Jon's face, and we're saying, oh, well, you know, she's got to use the face
Again,
transference thing again. There's got to be something with the dragons. But you look at the arc of this series, and they've really quelled the magic. Like, episode 3 was peak magic with Night King and all that kind of stuff. And then you lose a dragon in episode 4.
Yep.
You have the last big use of the dragon in episode 5, and you get rid of it completely in episode 6. And I just like the confounding of all these fan theories that have just kind of got like anything else. What was your worst bit then?
For me, my worst bit was just that council of people when all the lords came together to see Tyrion come out of jail and speak. And I feel that just some of the people who were there just don't deserve to be there, and I'm like, why are they still alive after all this bloodshed? Like, what's his?
You've seen real world politics, right?
Well, yes,
I mean, it's-
but like
in the real world,
fact
it's like,
that there's
why are
some
they there?
real dumbos on this panel, and that they get a say for their people. It's just sad. It's like that Robin Aaron guy is there. That,
Also, he
what's
glow
his
up
name?
there. He's
he-
quite good looking
No,
now.
no, no. He's gross. Whatever. He
No,
looks
no,
like.
hang on. He's really grown up. I mean,
He's really grown
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised.
Still gross, guys. His mum was a nut. And then there's that other guy, that Tully.
Edmure.
Edmure Tully.
There's Edmure Tully, who's just also like so lousy. Like, how is he not dead? Yes, so that I was really annoyed.
Okay, Sakthi, your best and worst.
I actually did like that scene when Jon killed Dany. I understand what you guys are saying about it being over too quickly, but I like the fact that it changed so quickly. Honestly, I kind of believe that that's it. This guy's a goober. He's not gonna do it, because right up to that point, he was just like, hemming and hawing, and then even when he goes to talk to her, and they end with a kiss. And I'm like, I shouted, I think, when we were watching it, I was like, wow, this guy's an idiot lah. I was shouting. And then suddenly the stab happened. I guess if you put two and two together, this guy is a fighter. He would have been taught how to stab, where to stab to kill people. So I think maybe he stabbed
I
her.
did think for a moment, was it Arya? It's just when you saw the handle, the hilt of the
and then it was a
blade that he used, it looked so much like Needle.
Yeah.
And I just thought, had she zapped him from behind again, and just, aha, don't stab.
But
And
then he
it's like-
cries, and then you're like, oh, it is Jon.
yeah, and then you, oh wow,
Yeah.
he did it after all. Wow.
Okay, I guess he did it in one swift motion to not prolong her suffering. I guess. Okay.
So what was your worst moment?
I think everything after that.
Savage.
Wow.
It's just the Bran thing. Like, I know I've been saying for the last 6 episodes, Bran has to be useful, but
Yeah.
like they built
Not
him
in
up,
this
like
way.
they built him up, and probably it goes together with your point about magic and how they have kind of cut magic out, kind of gradually and
Yeah.
also very swiftly.
So there's no Bran warging that we all thought would happen. or-
And like, come on, they gave him all this power. They made him made us follow him into the north,
trees
and then
the
fighting,
weirwood.
and then he becomes like a weirdo. His girlfriend don't like him anymore. His best friend he kills,
He's still a weirdo and a
and
creep.
then he potentially ate a person.
Okay, when did this
Yeah.
happen?
Jojen Reed. It's a whole theory about how they had to do
No.
blood magic to make him into like the Raven and all that kind of
And
stuff.
then he killed Hodor.
Yeah, that's his best friend.
Yeah.
He killed his best friend and then ate his friend Jojen Reed.
Summer died. A
Yeah,
lot of things
his
happened.
dog died, and then he got new wheels. All this kind of stuff happens, and then even in the first part of it, he was saying how he's here to fight the darkness. Potentially, maybe he was saying he was referring to Dany. We don't know, but all that he says, I'm a key to the fight against the White Walkers. He didn't do anything. He just sat there the whole time.
Okay.
Well, okay. Dare we ask, Jan, what's your best moment in it?
Queen in the North, people. Queen in the North.
Off the mic a little bit. Okay.
Just
Sorry.
like, move your chair there.
Sansa Stark, first off, her name, okay? Queen of the North. I love that scene. Her dress is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And like she has this beautiful like tiny little crown, and her hair is like flowing. Oh, it's so beautiful. And she is always meant to, like, it's very poetic to me that Sansa, the naive girl who wanted to be queen to King Joffrey Baratheon, ends up actually being a queen, but queen in the North. And that was something that I really, really liked. I love Sansa. She's one of my favorite characters. Followed her whole arc, and I thought her arc makes the most sense in a season that had a lot of senseless arcs or rushed arcs. But Arya and Sansa in particular, their arcs built up very, very beautifully and culminated in exactly where you think it would lead them. So that was great. Also, I know I tear this show apart a lot, and I've said fair more than once.
There are a few
podcast.
tatters lying around, yes.
Yes, in a few more than once in this podcast recording. But I think you have to respect that it's a beautifully done show. That even if the plot or the script or the development was not great, it's a beautifully shot show. You know, the cinematography is amazing. It's very well, the costumes, the sets is beautiful. It's a beautiful show. And I think that there are not, my favorite moment was Queen in the North, of course, but some moments like that one scene where Dany is walking out and the Drogon's wings are expanded behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful moment. Even as you know that she's going insane and
What is that show with Angelina Jolie where she's the evil queen?
Maleficent.
Maleficent.
Yes.
Yes. A very Maleficent moment
Yes,
there.
very beautiful. So I liked all of that, and I appreciate the show for all of that. That being said, least favorite. Oh man, so many least favorite moments. I mean, where do we start?
Come on, you got the ghost pet.
Yes,
You
that,
got
that
the
was
reuniting.
Nice. That was nice.
You know.
I like the ghost pet. I like that we see Tormund at the end just being like, I love Tormund. You know, him coming in and being like, "Yo, my
Well,
dude."
that's
like
our
that.
prediction that came true.
Yeah.
That Tormund is that
Yeah,
waving
he
at
was
the
gonna
end.
Go back.
John got to go
Yeah.
back to the north.
I like Sakthivel says, a lot of things don't make sense to me, and that Dothraki disappearing basically, so many things. Why people were standing around listening to a prisoner talk for 10 minutes. Admir Tully, okay, Admir Tully standing out, bad moment, but Admir Tully getting told by Sansa to sit down was one of the best moments, one of
Absolutely.
the highlights. Yeah, again, just why would people all suddenly agree to Bran being king? Bran, basically Bran asking for a master of whispers when his whole shtick is knowing exactly what's going on at the time. Like, I feel that it ignored basically the magicality of the story. Is that even a word? The magic of this story has been completely ignored and done dirty. It's not even just that the magic part of the story wrapped up. It was abandoned and abruptly.
I would say that it's actually gone full circle. That when it started out, it wasn't that magical a show. It took a while.
No, I
about
disagree.
last
First scene
episode.
we see White Walkers. Very first scene.
Apart from that, yes.
Season one, Bran is talking about having visions. Bran is having like eye to eye like conversations with a raven at his window. Like, this magic has always been built
but
into the
on
story.
a subtle level, which
Yes.
is where it's gone back to now. It's on a subtle level. So Bran wanting a fellow of whisperers, I don't think that's so bad, because part of his shtick as well, I think, is that he's basically leaving his hand to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So he's basically, I'm off out, or what was his phrase? I'm going now.
Yes.
Which is pretty much what he says at the end. Yeah. Well,
I'm going to go
So-
now.
yeah, I'm going to go now. What?
Yeah.
Eyes go back, and then
So I agree with John that I feel that a lot of things have come full circle. Are there questions that have been left dangling? Yes. But we all expected that going into this episode. We knew not all the questions can be answered. So I feel a lot of things have come full circle, like you said, because I think a lot of the characters went back to who they naturally are. So look at all the lords. Why did they choose the person who would give them the least conflict? They're all sick of fighting already, and this was best case scenario for anybody. Why did the Dothraki suddenly disappear? For me, it makes sense. You go back to the nature of the Dothraki, right? They follow the strongest leader. Once their Khal dies, the person who kills him becomes Khal, right? For them, it's like, if you die as Khal, you're too weak to be Khal. So they have been following Daenerys all this time because they thought she was the strongest.
okay. I think that's one of those things that I'd agree with Jan, in that that's where you just need a little bit of expansion in the story just to say that the Dothraki, just someone to mention that the Dothraki, because Jon killed them, they're following Jon now.
Yeah, so
Or
that's why I
that-
said
they-
cut the
they would-
walking at the front and then substitute it with explanation like that, right?
But see, then again, I feel that they didn't have time to wrap that up, or they didn't take the time.
Yeah.
So, but if you're asking why they're not around anymore, or why didn't they take revenge for Dany, they're not the type. They're not the type to take revenge, right? They just follow who the strongest is. And then, yeah, so for me, I think a lot of it just, they went back to, and then them going back to, them cutting out magic and going back to the daily running of things. That's, like you said, the lords are comfortable with some kind of status quo still. Right? Why do we need a lord of law, a master of law, master of whisperers, whatever they're called, right? It's because Bran also knows that some of these things have to exist for society to continue to function, and any kind of change has to be like incremental rather than suddenly one big change.
Ah, okay.
I think it was good. I think that scene, that just that last part,
Yeah.
the scene where like the small council is going back and then they're talking, hey, how do we deal with this? I think that was our, going back to rebuild the Shire scene.
I
I
was
do like Bran.
I was kind of surprised that Bron was back. Then again, I think Tyrion is one of those people that knows just at what length to keep Bron and
Yeah.
where to keep him around and what uses he has. I think everyone's kind of said what my favourite bits were. I think the only other bit is that I was sort of glad, but anticipating that Jon was at one point going to steal Drogon. It looked like he was going to ride him off and just take him away out and
Like, bye,
leave
guys.
it. Yeah, kind of take the dragon out of the equation. I think it's great that they didn't drag the entire confrontation of Jon and Dany out to the very end and then just have to quickly say, by the way, who's king? Oh, Bran, yeah. And yeah, I really liked the scene of Daenerys' speech. I thought it was a good moment of showing just how nuts she had gone and just revealing her true self and where she was going to take these things. But other than that, yeah, I liked it. It confounded expectations. It didn't have these... It didn't go for fan theories, which I think, well, pretty much expecting Twitter's in meltdown at the moment. But yeah, that
Actually,
was
what I
it.
appreciate about the whole episode also is the fact that you actually see all the characters for once.
Yara.
And Yara, exactly.
And Sam.
And Sam, and then when we go on to Tommen,
Oh,
we see
hang
Tommen
on.
and Ghost.
That was one of the least favourite bits. Sam presenting a book called A Song of Ice and Fire.
A little bit
It's
too.
national-
I mean, a lot of people have said before that that's how it would close. That would be like Sam writing in the thing and closing the book,
Like
and it'd be called
Frodo.
kind of it got close to being way too on the nose for that one. That was about. That was a
But it
bit-
was nice lah, to kind of just
But
see
at
all
least
the
they didn't
characters
have
coming
like a
together.
Return of the King or Avengers Endgame level of, well, we're going to say goodbye to this person now, and now we're going to say goodbye to this person, and now we're going to say goodbye to this person. It was more of a seamless end.
Yeah.
I think it
And
was
speaking
still-
of seamless ends, this is where we have to leave it. Do catch our video wrap-up of the entire season coming to you on the Straits Times YouTube channel. In the meantime, it's been wonderful watching all 6 episodes with this wonderful bunch of people. But our watch has now ended. And with that, I say, Valar morghulis.
Valar the High-Risk.
That was an SPH podcast. Find us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and streaming on Google Home. Do send your feedback to podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also check out more podcasts on various topics at straitstimes.com and bt.sg.